Boys, there is a lot of weapons inside of Apex Legends, and sometimes you just gotta roll with what you get. But if we could be choosers, I do want to point out some weapons that are my favorite weapons in the game. What's so great about this is we finally have numbers to back up our choices here, as McKerley has put up a chart of all the time to kill values for all of our weapons. So we're going to be talking DPS number, TTK values in terms of optimal time to kills, as well as body shot time to kill values. Now, before I get into our list, we will be giving 4 different time to kill values. As you know, armor increases your overall health, so essentially everyone starts off at 100 health and can max out at 200 health, which can drastically change the time to kill values here. Now, what we won't be including in today's video are helmets. As you know, helmets reduce overall crit damage from 30% all the way up to 50% damage reduction. Don't worry, guys. McKerley is probably working on that one, but that will be a heck of a spreadsheet, as we'll essentially end up with like 16 different time to kill values for each of these weapons. But let's get started. First on the list should be no surprise to anyone, and that is the Wingman Revolver. It has a 27 rate of fire at 180 rounds per minute. It's no surprise to see so many Destiny players picking up Wingman and enjoying it, since 180s is probably the most popular archetype of hand cannons back in Destiny. Now, its DPS values ranges from 140 to 280, and it hits 90 per crit and 45 per body. Our optimal time to kills range from 0.33 seconds to 0.67 seconds. Of course, guys, not including helmets, but this is what you could possibly do in terms of optimal time to kill values if we were hitting that full crit value. Now, body shot TTK values is still pretty good, ranging from 0.67 seconds up to 1.33 seconds. That is, of course, if you don't miss your shots. But what about Wingman with Skull Piercer rifling? Still the same in terms of rate of fire, still a 180 round per minute revolver, but it hits 101 per crit and 45 per body, giving us a starting optimal time to kill of 0 seconds. Just 1 crit and they're done, with the highest optimal time to kill value being 0.33 seconds. Body shot TTK values are still the same, as Skull Piercer only elevates our crit value damage. Overall, guys, even though Wingman's time to kill values definitely gets higher as people put on helmets, it's definitely the best weapon in the pistol archetype. Now, I haven't quite perfected Wingman either. I use it a lot in like peek-oriented battles when I just want to peek into cover and then peek right back out and snag a shot. To me, if you're going to spam this weapon, you almost want to start aiming toward the right shoulder, because you can visually start seeing that bullet drop, and it seems to be dropping more to the bottom left, right? And so be conscious of that if you're in a gunfight, guys, and you're having to spam that trigger and they are a bit of a distance away from you. Start aiming more to their right shoulder if you're going to spam your shots out. For the most part, it is best to just pace your shots with Wingman. Moving on, guys, to SMGs. Now, honestly, there's been a lot of talk about people's favorite SMGs. I know the R99 SMG got a lot of love from people, and yes, it is a deadly SMG, especially if you're a fan of like 900 round per minute SMGs. It's a melt machine, but my personal favorite SMG in the game right now is the Prowler Burst PDW. It is a 5 burst SMG. At 70 rate of fire, it comes by default at 900 rounds per minute. It hits 21 per crit and 14 per body, with a DPS range of 294 to 441. Optimal time to kills can range from 0.22 seconds at 5 crits, all the way up to 0.6 seconds at 9 crits in 1 body. I know some people believe landing all crits with this weapon is a difficult thing to do. I get it, yes, but man, if you could, you will melt some folks. But even when we look at our body shot TTK values, it ranges from 0.5 seconds to 0.97, going from 8 body shots to 15. Now, considering that, guys, it's highly recommended to have an extended heavy mag perk to boost our magazine size, as you will be reloading a lot after each gunfight. Now, just like Wingman, Prowler also has a hop-up. It's called Select Fire Receiver. Now, this hop-up actually turns this weapon into a full auto SMG. So instead of sitting there and tapping the trigger throughout the gunfight, you can just sit there and lay on the trigger. Sounds pretty nasty, but not really. This is where things get a little interesting. Select Fire Receiver actually drops the rate of fire of the weapon just a tad. Some numbers have been around 750 rounds per minute, might even be about 800 rounds per minute. Just know that it is less than its default 900 rounds per minute. Now, the weapon's still hitting 21 per crit and 14 per body, but notice that our optimal TTK value values start at 0.33 and go all the way up to 0.75. Yes, it is longer than it would be without select fire receiver. Our body shot time to kill values is of course longer as well, ranging from 0.58 to 1.17. Still taking the same amount of body shots, but having that slower rate of fire results in these time to kill values being a tad bit lengthier. Now, let me give a pros and cons list to select fire receiver. The pro, or at least probably the only pro, select fire receiver allows Prowler to be a little more manageable, to sit there and just lay on the trigger, not worry about burst firing. This just kind of allows you to concentrate on the gunfight. The biggest con, obviously, the drop in rate of fire. Really, guys, it just comes down to you and whatever it is you're most comfortable with. Moving on to LMGs. Oh man, we've got a lot to say about LMGs. Straight up, guys, my favorite LMG in the game is the Devotion, but I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not good. And I knew it wasn't good, but let's talk about the damage values first. Right off the bat, we're looking at a 50 rate of fire, which is 400 rounds per minute, 34 per crit, and 17 per body. We have a DPS range of 85 to 170. Our optimal time to kill values range from 0.3 seconds to 0.75. Now, I'm not going to get into body shot TTK values, as we're immediately going to jump to the Devotion LMG plus turbocharge. Now, this one's pretty interesting, and guys, shout out to McKerley, because he is the one that is actually went into all of this. A standard Devotion begins at 300 rounds per minute for the first 2 shots. Then it moves to 360 for 1 shot, then 450 for 3 shots, 600 for 5 shots, and then will fully max out at 900 rounds per minute for the remainder of the magazine. What turbocharged Devotion does is that it bypasses the 300 and 360 round per minute stages and instead begins at 450 for 4 shots, 600 for 5, and then 900 for the remainder of the magazine. So you get 2 extra shots there that we're able to take advantage of at 900 rounds per minute. This doesn't necessarily elevate the damage of the weapon, guys. It just simply increases the rate of fire. So optimally, Devotion here at 900 rounds per minute, still hitting the same values that it is, can have a time to kill range of 0.13 all the way up to 0.33. That's significantly less than what a standard Devotion is, but only when you fully maxed out the Devotion's rounds per minute, when you're on the tail end of that magazine, shooting at 900 rounds per minute. Can Devotion go in there and wipe out an entire team? Yes. Does it require you to sit there like a madman, laying on the trigger in front of everybody? Yes, it does. Which is the unfortunate con about this weapon. Realistically, guys, the best LMG in the game is the M600 Spitfire. It's a 47 rate of fire weapon at 514 rounds per minute. It hits 40 per crit and 20 per body, with a DPS range of 180 to 360. Its optimal time to kill values ranges from 0.23 to 0.47, and its body shot TTK values range from 0.47 to 1.05. Honestly, the biggest selling point for Spitfire is its body shot time to kill values. It's one of the best in the game. Needless to say though, guys, everything that Devotion does, the Spitfire can do and better, without having to prime the weapon, without having to actually crank it up to its maximum rate of fire. So even though, yes, Devotion does have a hop up, Spitfire is still the better choice here. Moving on to assault rifles. Now this one is going to change for me, and yes, there's some personal opinion thrown into this, as I've played with both of these on console as well as PC. For PC, the Hemlock Burst AR is my favorite assault rifle. It is a 3-round burst AR. It has an 80 rate of fire at 490 rounds per minute. It is 32 per crit and 18 per body, with a DPS range of 278 to 558. Its optimal time to kill values range from 0.43 to 0.83, and its body shot TTK values range from 0.53 to 1.33. The beautiful thing about Hemlock is that it can work so well for you in the mid-range. Yes, it's an assault rifle, and yes, you can get away with using other ARs in the mid-range, but none of them handle quite as well as the Hemlock. Also, its single fire mode is deadly accurate. Now, the other auto rifle I want to mention is one I have thoroughly enjoyed on console. I don't really see myself using it much on PC, but it actually has some of the best numbers in the game. It's the VK-47 Flatline. Now it comes with a 60 rate of fire at 600 rounds per minute, 32 per crit and 16 per body, with a DPS range of 160 to 320. Now our time to kill values here range range from 0.3 seconds to 0.6 in terms of optimal time to kill, and our body shot TTK values range from 0.6 to 1.2. Really guys, I'm throwing Flatline on here because of how well it performed for me on console. Seriously though guys, it's disgusting. For some reason, it is so sticky on console, which all the guns feel much stickier, but for some reason, Flatline takes it to a whole nother level. Now moving on to snipers. First up, I would like to mention that if you ever come across the Kraber, you need to drop whatever weapon you're using and pick it up. I know some people have said they don't like this sniper. They don't like that you have a limited amount of ammo. I get it, but my God, can this weapon dome. And when you get to the end game and you just need to get knocks so that you can push in and collapse on the rest of these enemies, no sniper in the game has the damage values that Kraber has. So yes, a lot of you guys are right. Kraber is not the best weapon early to mid game, but in that end game, when you're like in the last 2 or 3 squads, is where this sniper truly shines. I really urge you to pick this sniper up and use it. Now, first on the list, we have the G7 Scout. This weapon has a 33 rate of fire at 257 rounds per minute, with a DPS range of 135 to 270. It hits 60 per crit and 30 per body, and has an optimal TTK range of 0.23 seconds all the way up to 0.7 seconds. Now, its body shot TTK values range from 0.7 seconds all the way up to 1.4 seconds. Now, I know that the time to kill values here may not be the best, but G7 Scout is such a fast rate of fire weapon. It's literally like death of 1,000 cuts, right? You're sitting there and you're just pegging into an enemy over and over again, and throwing a crit in there just makes it juicier. No, it will not always get the drop for you, but there's a lot of times, man, that you just drive enemies back over and over again. And it really allows your team to push up while simultaneously keeping the enemy constantly healing. It's a really deadly weapon, guys. Don't overlook the G7 Scout. Now, moving on to the Longbow DMR. Now, I'm mainly putting the Longbow here as a point of reference to show you why I don't like it as much as the G7 Scout. I will say though, the Longbow is pretty nasty on console. Again, that level of stickiness that Flatline offers, Longbow also offers that for some reason. This weapon is shooting at a 30 rate of fire, which is 75 rounds per minute, with a DPS range of 66 to 132. Not that impressive. Its crit damage value is 110, and it hits 55 per body. Optimal TTK wise can range from 0 seconds at 1 crit all the way up to 0.8 seconds at 2 crits, with its body shot TTK values ranging from 0.8 seconds all the way up to 2.4 seconds, guys. Do you know how much I can get done in 2.4 seconds? Too much. Now, obviously, Longbow is meant for you to land crits, which is why Longbow with Skull Piercer rifling is extremely important. The hop up that is applied to Wingman can also be applied here to Longbow, giving us the same rate of fire, but an increased crit damage value at 124 per crit. Now, time to kill, at least optimally, is still the same, but that's not the point here. Just like Wingman, Skull Piercer rifling is going to elevate our crit damage value, thus negating that 30% damage reduction from something like a helmet. The point I'm trying to make is G7 Scout is the better choice for me in most dueling situations. I've got enemy teams, we're collapsing together, all that juicy stuff. But if I'm just trying to go for picks and I had to choose between Longbow and G7, I would probably go with Longbow if I had a Skull Piercer rifling on me. Just to land those crits, to get those picks, to get those immediate downs. Yes, it's a slower rate of fire, it's a little more difficult to use, but it makes up for it by having a massive amount of crit damage if you can land them. Now, the last weapon archetype that we're going to talk about is shotguns. Now, shotguns. Honestly, guys, if you come across a Mastiff, pick it up. Forget everything you know. Mastiff is the way to go. But for the most part, if you're like me, you rarely see that gun, and really Peacekeeper is the way to go. Now, we're not going to really get into time to kill values here. You would be surprised to know that the EVA 8 Auto actually has the better time to kill value. But Peacekeeper is still the better shotgun, guys, just because of its kill range, also given the fact that it can come with a hop-up that essentially just makes it a slug shotgun, thus elevating that kill range even more. So guys, those are your best weapons for each archetype. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, even the weapons that I didn't mention on this list could still perform really well for you, like an SMG that I probably should have talked a little more in depth, the R99 SMG. If you can tame that rate of fire, is really good. And the R301 auto rifle is a fantastic auto rifle in terms of consistency and just in terms of bare bones. Like, you just picked it up, you don't have any stocks on it. The weapon just really performs good straight out the box. Other than that, guys, I hope this video gave you an idea. And again, shout out to McKerley, guys. His Twitter account is in the description below. He is constantly crunching numbers for us, and I can't wait to see the numbers he crunches after he incorporates helmet values, because that one's going to really interest me to see what our optimal time to kill values are for each of these weapons with each type of helmet in the game. Now, before I let you guys go, shout out to my supporters on Patreon. You guys directly contribute to the channel, and I thank you all very much. We just added a bunch of new pledges these past few days, and I thank you all for supporting the content on the channel. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.